pups! Arby here. Zelda games are a major staple of anyone's childhood who grew up with Nintendo and other video games of the like. I wasn't really much into Zelda until I heard about Majora's Mask several years later after its release when I was a young teenager. I did play Ocarina of Time, but I wasn't really big into it until Majora and heard about the 3DS remake. And man, did it pique my interest in the Zelda franchise. While Zelda games are all about adventures, fairy tale stories about a young warrior saving a kingdom and its princess, there's a darker side to it. Just like with everything else in our childhood memories. Luckily, Link has a triforce of courage. I mean, if it was up to me to save Hyrule from a big-ass spider, I'd run and scream and cry like a baby, and let Hyrule defend for itself. Today, I'm looking at all the creepy things in one of Nintendo's darkest creepy kids games. And I'm going to ignore the 1 moment per game rule and the play before enter rule because everyone should know all about Zelda games by now. I know my specialty is Pokemon games, but I decided to change it up a bit and go with Zelda this time. Remember that this list is based on my opinions and choices only. If you have an idea on what creepy or scary thing and or moment in a Zelda game, be sure to share in the comments. That being said, let's begin. The Stal children in Hyrule Village from Ocarina of Time. A lot of us enjoy Zelda games for one of its most unique features of all time, the landscapes and how the areas in the game are made. This is why adventure games get so much praise for these designs on the surrounding areas, along with how well the graphics are. But in Hyrule Village, well, there's one thing about it at night. If you trail off the path or walk on the chain of Ocarina of Time, you'll be greeted by Hyrule's welcoming committee, the Stal children. While these guys are easy to beat, they're everywhere. But it's worth beating them to get all those rupees. But if you dare travel off the path at night in the Hyrule field, they coming for you, baby. The aliens from Majora's Mask. Now, Majora's Mask itself is a pretty creepy and an overall wonderful game. It'll appear on this list again, because I'm cheating here. But a separate thing that makes it even creepier are the aliens. The aliens first appear on a farm, and you have to protect the farm and a little girl, Romani, who lives there. This happens within the 3-day time span of the game. When you beat them, as you get closer and closer towards the farm and the house on the ranch, everything's a-okay. However, if you let them take the animals and Romani, they take her away and bring her back on the 3rd day, and she remembers nothing and possibly has PTSD now. Whatever they did to her is obviously scarring and horrifying to say the least. Did they experiment on her? Torture her? What the fuck did they do to this child? Dead Hand from Ocarina of Time. While not higher up on this list, still creepy and horrifying in its own right, and deserves to be on this list regardless. I probably shouldn't need to explain this guy since he's already talked to death about by now. No pun intended. But if you haven't played Ocarina of Time or heard of the Dead Hand, I envy you, and you are blessed with innocence, and that is about to be robbed and burned to the ground until you see nothing but emptiness. Dead Hand resides either in the bottom of the well of the Kakariko village or in the Shadow Temple, or both. Once you enter the well and the room where Dead Hand is in, the room is quite literally decorated with skulls, and within this room you see 4 hands rising from the ground like plants. If you are to approach one of these hands, it immediately grabs you and... Holy shit, what the fuck is that ungodly thing? Yep, that motherfucker. He tries to eat you up, but as soon as you finish it off, it lays there, twitching, awaiting death, as rigor mortis slowly sets in. Stop it again! Double tap! Double tap! But in this 3DS remake, he's less bloody and just lays there, dying, still having yet to fade away. Creepy as fuck. Moving on. Blizzeta's transformation from Twilight Princess. Twilight Princess is another dark, yet beautiful game in the Zelda series. But the darker these games get, we thought it wouldn't get as dark as Majora's Mask was. Apparently, Twilight Princess leveled up on the darkness and nightmare fuel. In the snow level, you enter a cozy little home of Blizzeta, and she has obtained a mirror piece, which you need to get. After completing some of the challenges or puzzles, she leads you into a room where the mirror is, and then... Y'all, is it just me, or did the developers of this game get this idea from The Exorcist? Regardless, after that sudden demonic transformation, you end up battling Blizzeta's Battle Bitch boss form! Regardless, her transformation is horrifying! And all over a fucking mirror piece, for God's sake. Jeez, girl, just buy another mirror at the local Target! Oh wait, Target doesn't exist in the Zeldaverse. Never mind. Ghirahim from Skyward Sword. While I've yet to play Skyward Sword, one of my friends introduced me to this character. Just by looking at him, he seems somewhat harmless. Just a light boss battle for the most part. But as he's now revealed... Yep, he's freaky looking. The weird-ass Gene Simmons tongue, the classic evil emo stereotype, and demeanor all too similar to another creepy childhood character him from the Powerpuff Girls. This dude is bad news in general. Just everything about him is creepy. Not his appearance in particular, but the way he's portrayed in the game is all too creepy. Again, he reminds me all too much from him for the Powerpuff Girls. Now, don't get me wrong, I love this guy, but he's just so fucking weird. From trying to lick Link, to being a sadistic psychopath. He's like a bad ripoff of Jeff the Killer, Laughing Jack, Lavender, and the Joker combined. But he's nowhere near as scary as the next entries on this list. Zant from Twilight Princess. The way that Zelda creates creepy villains should be admired and feared. If a live-action Zelda movie is ever made, I want all these villains to appear in it. This guy in particular. I know I probably would have said Ganondorf is a freaky villain due to his boss battle in Ocarina of Time, but Zant already took that place. Sorry, Ganon. Zant took over the role of freaky villain. That aside, I've only seen a few bits and pieces of Zant in gameplays of Twilight Princess, but this guy is the definition of freaky-ass mofo. From his appearance, to his speeches, to the boss fight, his personality, his literal insanity, to literally everything about him in the game, including how he turned his own species into shadow beasts of sorts. Zant is fucking creepy as hell. But it's probably not as bad as the next entry on this list. Death Sword from Twilight Princess. I swear, if this is just going to be about Twilight Princess, then hell with it. Well, the name itself sounds like some username some edgy kid would use for literally any account that requires internet connection. It's a lot creepier than it sounds. With a badass name, of course. When you enter one of the dungeons, you see a big-ass sword stuck on the ground. Similar to how King Arthur's sword is in the stone, only there's a bunch of ropes tying it down, with a whole bunch of talismans, known as Ofuda, used in Japan for protection, spiritually speaking. Once you cut off one of the ropes, the sword comes to life, and when you take on Link's wolf form... Jesus Christ, what the fuck is that? Yep, a Wendigo Grim Reaper hybrid in a Zelda game. As badass as it is, it's fucking creepy! If this is what animals see in the darkness, of which humans can't, I can't say I envy the adorable fur babies for the world. But the question is, what the literal hell did Death Sword do to be bounded by ropes and Ofudas to keep it locked away forever? You know what? Never mind. I don't want to fucking know. Redeads and Gibdos. From the entire Zelda series in general. Nintendo? What the actual fuck is wrong with you? Redeads and Gibdos are already creepy enough. The first Redeads are zombies that moan and occasionally scream, and they all rely on non-consensual humping to Link. Not Gibdos though. Not Gibdos do the same, considering they're mummies. But in comparison to Ocarina of Time, the Wind Waker Redeads are worse. Still relying on non-con humping, but only being turned into creepy tiki dolls with an even worse scream. And then Twilight Princess Redeads are now hybrids of Redeads and Gibdos. But thankfully stop the non-con humps. But now paralyze you with a scream and fucking attack you! Yep, if these things were in a zombie apocalypse, I'd run for my life with the every man, woman, and child for themselves mentality and leave someone else to deal with them. Armagoma from Twilight Princess. Why? Just why? Why with spiders in video games all the time? Spiders! Why do they have to be spiders? Now, I've expressed this in the past, and still express it to this day. I have severe arachnophobia, and this thing doesn't help. No matter what happens or what I do, I will always have massive arachnophobia no matter what. But this thing is a giant tarantula with a fucking eyeball on its back. But once you defeat it, it turns out that eyeball was a spider itself! With little mini spider babies! Nope, nope, nope. So much nope. All aboard the nope train! Nope, nope! No, 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 no! Surprisingly enough, this one isn't even number 1 on the list, and it's my number 1 fear in anything from games to real life in general. Speaking of which, before I get to number 1, I like to give out some honorable mentions. Wall and floor masters. Basically just a whole bunch of hands you have to be warned about. Basically the moving shadows. If you stand too long, you get grabbed, and either start over where you began, or fight the floor masters. Not much to say here. Not as creepy as Dead Hand, and not nearly creepy enough as Armagoma, but still creepy. Still very creepy. The Guardians. Basically, when you do a little minigame or dungeon or whatever in Skyward Sword, fail to get a teardrop or a gem or something like that, the Guardians awaken! And they attack you! And you cannot do nothing but run! Run, Gerbil boy! Run! Gorg's Fate. This one is more sad than scary. Gorg is a man who's outcasted by everyone in Kakariko Village, including his own family. The only thing that makes him happy is his cuckoo and its crow. When you find him in the Lost Woods, you return his cuckoo. Go to an old witch who gives you a potion from an odd mushroom Gorg gave you, only to say it won't work on a monster. And when you return, you only see Fadu in his place, saying he got lost, indicating he turned into a Stalfos. For some context, the Stal children are children who get lost, and Stalfos are the adult version of the Stal children. Not generally creepy, but super sad. Skulltula House. Basically, this is a house found in Kakariko Village that holds a family of cursed half-human, half-Skulltula people. But if you attack them, they attack you back. I swear, Kakariko Village itself is cursed! Majora's Mask. Just all of it in general. I've talked about this before in the past, but everything from Majora's Mask is scary. The moon, the 3 days to live, and you meet a terrible fate if you fail, the masked salesman's rage, the boss fights of the dungeons, the death of each mask you find and use in the game, such as Deku Butler's son, the Skull Kid, and Majora itself and its boss fight. This conjured up multiple theories about the game and its characters, and even had a well-known creepypasta made about it, inspired by the lifeless Link statue in the game. Majora's Mask deserves some hardcore, massive respect. Okay, that's all for today's video. If I missed any creepy or scary thing from a Zelda game, or if you have any thoughts about who or what is the creepiest or scariest thing in the Zelda games, be sure to share in the comments below. And as always, I'll see you in the next one, pups. Cue the outro, RP is out. Sweet dreams, puppies. Seriously, Nintendo, I love you to death, but what the actual and literal fuck is wrong with you? Rated E to E10 plus my ass.